The overwhelming consensus among scientists at the moment is that humans are primarily the drivers of current climate change. There was a time when we believed that natural climate change was the main cause of the fluctuations historically, and certainly this is still true for periods long in the past. But for the present time period, most scientists now believe that the warming, for example, over the past 50 years has been predominantly driven by human action. I would be convinced of that simply because if we try and drive our climate models with natural processes only, they don't work. If we drive them purely with human processes, they don't work. If we drive them with a combination of human and some natural processes, then they replicate what has been happening in the world in temperature trends very accurately indeed over the past century. And this leads us to believe that really human action is primarily behind the changes we've seen recently. Well, the world has warmed by about 0.75 degrees in the past century, and most of the scientific community believe that if we get to a level of 2 degrees above pre-industrial values of temperature, then we face a situation where we're into the unknown in terms of climate, and this is generally deemed to be the dangerous climate change threshold. We're committed as a country, for example, to agree to the EU Council's strictures that we should do everything we can to stay within that 2-degree value, because quite simply, once we get above that level, strange things can happen that we don't even anticipate at the moment in terms of the Gulf Stream, in terms of melting of ice in Antarctica, in terms of methane releases. And we don't want to get to that place because it will leave very few options for those that come after us to cope with a changed world climate. So we have little time. We have about a decade to get our act together. Otherwise, we do face that 2-degree threshold. And once that's passed, then really all bets are off in terms of what we anticipate for the future. So it's vital that as a global community, we exert as much influence as we can at present to try and ensure that we stay within that dangerous threshold. I think it's quite clear that Ireland will not feel the same severe impacts, at least initially, that many other parts of the world will feel. Places such as sub-Saharan Africa, monsoon Asia, the high Arctic, these will be places which really will feel very severe impacts very quickly. But we in Ireland will also have to, we'll have to change the way we organise society in order to ensure that we don't become victims of climate change economically, for example, in the years ahead. The impacts will primarily be felt in terms of agriculture, what we can grow, what our sort of productivity for certain crops will be, and it may be that we have to change the way of working of our farms as time goes on to ensure that we remain competitive agriculturally. The other main impact will of course be in water resources, because we expect that we will have to plan a long way ahead for new water resources for our towns and cities, and indeed even in the future for our farmers for irrigation. So those are issues which we do have to position Ireland to meet and to face head-on in the years ahead. Of course, we will also suffer the risk that we will lose some of the valuable cultural assets in our ecosystems, in our habitats, that we take as being part and parcel of being Irish. The cry of the curlew, the bogs, the turloughs, these are kind of areas where, you know, we have it as part of our psyche, and it would be a real shame were we to lose those in the years ahead through climate change. So it is incumbent on us, since they have a right to exist as well as we do, it is incumbent on us also to protect biodiversity in the natural world in the years ahead. Well, we in Ireland are among the worst culprits in terms of causing global climate change on a per capita basis. Certainly we don't contribute in total anything like the amounts of greenhouse gases that the Chinese or the Indians or indeed the Americans or the British or Germans do. But on a per capita basis we contribute more than many of those countries, and that's simply because we have also a large agricultural sector, producing large amounts of methane gas, as well as a substantial industrial sector producing large amounts of carbon dioxide. So we're got, if you like, on both counts. And our per capita emissions of greenhouse gases are certainly in the top 10 in the world at the moment. So in terms of the responsibilities, we have a really pressing responsibility to do our share as responsible members of the global community in order to ensure that the people that come after us don't have their options foreshortened, don't have their opportunities to enjoy the living standards that we do eliminated. And it's rather an ethical problem here that we have to play our part as just as we would with other environmental problems like litter. We have to play our part in global environmental problems also. And in this case, since we're one of the worst culprits, we should be doing more than most. I think it's fair to say that our awareness of the importance of acting to try and mitigate and adapt to climate change in Ireland has increased enormously in the past decade or so. It was a kind of a problem which remained in academics' top drawers, if you like, for a long time as a kind of a dusty old subject which nobody was interested in. But now I think the public in Ireland have become very sensitised to the need to take action fairly quickly and fairly radically. So I think we have improved greatly. I think the great white hope for the future in Irish society, though, comes from our young people, because I think we have some very impressive awareness campaigns going on in the schools especially. I think the Green Schools campaign is a terrific campaign, and it's one which has sensitised the generation to come as to what really they do to undo the damage that we are doing to the world at the moment. So that, plus the guidance we're getting from Europe in terms of environmental directives, plus the various programmes that are coming from government and from the Department of the Environment, for example, plus a growing research field, all of this has helped increase awareness, increase sensitivity, and increase the general public's feeling that, yes, it's a problem I have to tackle as much as anybody else.